In this video, I want to talk about third-party special needs trusts. That's going to be the subject of this video. I want to first point out that there are different types of special needs trusts. There are also different types of trusts in general, but when we're talking about special needs trusts, there's two primary different types. There's the first-party special needs trust and a third-party special needs trust. There is another YouTube video that I did that compares and contrasts the differences. This video, I just want to talk about a third-party special needs trust. Essentially, in general, a third-party special needs trust or a special needs trust is for people who need or would potentially be interested in needs-based public benefits like SSI, Supplemental Security Income, or Medicaid, meaning these programs that care how much money you have to your name. Typically, not always, but typically you can't have more than $2,000 to your name to qualify for these needs-based government programs. And so a special needs trust is a way to have money, benefit from money, but not have it get in the way or interrupt your ability to access these benefits. What makes it a third-party special needs trust is that the money has originated from somewhere else. Very commonly, this is an inheritance, right? Where we have a parent or grandparent who wants to set up a special needs trust to benefit a child who is disabled and who really is going to be relying on SSI or Medicaid or both for the rest of their lives. And so while they've earned money and they don't need government benefits themselves, they want to make sure that their loved one who is disabled or who is otherwise on these programs can continue to benefit from those programs while also having some money set aside to pay for things that those programs won't cover, which typically will improve the quality of their life, right? So again, this is in the form of an inheritance, right? If you just had a will and you said, I want to leave my 3 kids, I want them to split into thirds, whatever I have to my name, and if that is thousands or hundreds of thousands or more dollars, if they just receive that outright, that will kick them off of their needs-based benefits, right? Let's say if you have one of the 3 children's on Medicaid, if you just cut 3 checks from the estate, the 2 are going to be fine because they're not on any government programs, but the one that is on SSI or Medicaid or both is going to be kicked off of that program because they're not allowed to have direct control and have ownership of those funds directly. So for my clients who have special needs children or special needs grandchildren, or just sometimes it's a friend, right? You want to leave money to someone who's just a very close like family member, not necessarily related to you, but you want to leave them money in a way that's not going to impact their benefits, you would use a third-party special needs trust. Third-party special needs trust can be set up anywhere, with a bank, a brokerage account, both, so the money can grow. And there's a trustee who is not the needs-based beneficiary, meaning that person cannot have direct control over what's in that trust, but you select somebody else. There are professional nonprofit organizations that can perform this service, or there are more frequently, it is a relative, maybe it's a sibling who is not themselves disabled that can manage the money on behalf of the disabled individual. Well, that person, whoever is managing the money, is called the trustee. The trustee of the third-party special needs trust can spend that money on anything that the beneficiary needs or wants with some restriction. If they have SSI, very few restrictions called in-kind support and maintenance, which we won't get into in this video, but they're really very few and far between. But if the person just has Medicaid and not SSI, there are really no restrictions as long as they're not duplicating services that are already covered by Medicaid. So very often, Medicaid is called upon to help pay for care at home, but not 24/7 care. So the special needs trust can supplement whatever Medicaid's not covering, or to pay for care in a facility. Medicaid will sometimes pay for some, but not all of an assisted living facility bill. The special needs trust can cover the difference. Even in a nursing home, Medicaid will essentially pay for all of it. They only pay for a semi-private room. Special needs trust might be called upon to pay for that private room if that's something that the beneficiary would benefit from. And also therapies that might not be covered, experimental medications, just things that make them happier, tickets to the theater, tickets to the movies, paying for them to go to Disney World, whatever the case is, not only needs but wants, things that again improve the quality of my client's life. What is really a nice aspect of a third-party special needs trust is there is no Medicaid payback requirement. That's a contrast to a first-party special needs trust, which again, we'll talk about in another video. But a third-party special needs trust, because the money originated from somebody other than the special needs individual, there is no requirement that when the special needs individual passes, the money left over go back to the government. It can go wherever it is that you want it to go. Sometimes we are embedding third-party special needs trust within my client's revocable trust, right? For the benefit of, again, in the example with 3 children, one of them with special needs, within the revocable living trust, we might say the 2 children who don't need government assistance, they just get an outright distribution, but the one who needs government assistance, their share will remain in the third-party special needs trust that's built into the revocable trust. Sometimes a third-party special needs trust is set aside as its own standalone trust because maybe the special needs individual might be inheriting from multiple people, not just mom and dad, maybe grandparents, maybe aunts and uncles, maybe other close relatives, that they want a way to leave funds to a special needs individual, again, without jeopardizing their access to benefits. They won't just name that person outright. They will instead name the special needs trust that will benefit them without interrupting government benefits. On occasion, every once in a while, you see, God forbid, someone untimely passes away and a GoFundMe account is set up. Well, sometimes we'll use special needs trust to hold the GoFundMe funds because especially if a lot of money is raised, because again, if the person who is the recipient of those funds is on Medicaid or SSI, you'll interrupt their benefits. But if the GoFundMe is then funded into a third-party special needs trust, then there will be no interruption. You can benefit a friend or a loved one or someone in your community. So that is, again, we're 7 minutes. There's a lot more to third-party special needs trust, but I think this is a really good, solid introduction. If you are interested in Medicaid or estate planning anywhere in the state of Florida, please feel free to set up a consultation. If you like this video, please share it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Always trying to get good information out to all of Florida. Thank you very much for watching.